Today's guitar tip is brought to you by Arpeggiato, my online music school specializing in all things that go pluck. To celebrate the new year, we're offering 20% off of your first pack of lessons. Just use code HAPPY2022 before the end of January. Hey guys, welcome back for another guitar tip. Today's tip is going to be all about keeping your instruments safe from damage, and specifically damage due to humidity. You know, it's so easy to look at a guitar and, it seems solid, seems fine. It's not really susceptible to temperature or humidity changes, but it is wood, it moves, and therefore it can break. Unfortunately, I've had many cracks in some of my favorite instruments, and it's a real pain. So to spare you that trouble, this video is going to be all about why you need to humidify your guitar. For many years, I worked in a music store that had a really good guitar repair shop, and I even learned to do a couple good guitar repairs myself. But I'll tell you, every single year, at the end of winter, we'd have an influx of dozens and dozens of people coming in saying, "Hey, I don't know what's wrong. My guitar's all buzzy," or "Hey, my bridge is coming off my instrument," or "My bridge came off the instrument," or "I have a crack in the top of my guitar. What happened? I don't know what the problem is." And the problem always was that person didn't humidify their guitar. Now, I'm in the Midwest, so we have super dry, super cold winters. So depending on where you are, this might be relative to your climate. But essentially the rule is, if you're below 40% or above 60% humidity, you have to be a little bit worried about the longevity or the safety of your instruments. And luckily, it's actually pretty easy and affordable to make sure that this doesn't happen to you. So essentially what happens is that wood contracts or expands depending on the amount of moisture in the air. And if your guitar was built to be in that window of 40 to 60% humidity, which is about normal, and suddenly it's exposed to 20% humidity, that radical shock can make the wood crack. And even if the wood doesn't crack, what often happens on guitars is that when the instrument gets super dry and the wood contracts, the bridge sinks down a little bit. And that means that the strings sink down a little bit, causing the instrument to be suddenly buzzy when it wasn't before. Other things that might happen is while the wood is changing size, the glue can break and maybe the bridge comes off, sometimes the top rips off, or the braces inside the sound hole might come loose and cause buzzing. So I hope now I've scared you enough to want to humidify your guitar. Luckily, this is pretty easy and cost affordable, so let's go through some quick ways that you guys can be humidifying and protecting your instruments. Now, one of the first things you can do is have a solid case. This is actually my Baroque guitar case, so it's a little bit smaller, but it's the same idea. There are cases for your instruments or guitars that have a wood lining inside, and so this is a really good way to trap the humidity inside the instrument and create a little quarantined area that is very safe. A gig bag is too flimsy, it won't hold in the humidity, but a hard shell case will. Now, inside I have these little packs, humidifying packs. These are by a company called Boveda. I'm not sponsored by them, I just use these because they work really well. There's a lot of companies that make little packs like this you can put right inside your case. This is the same company who makes humipacks for cigar boxes and things. And on the label, it says 49% two-way humidifier. So why I love these is because basically you put these in your case and you're done. If there's too much moisture, it'll suck the moisture out and get it back to 49%. If there's too little moisture and it's too dry, it'll regulate it back to 49. So whether it's too humid or not humid enough, it gets you back to 49%. I have two in the case just to make sure it does the job, and it seems to. So these are really cool and easy to use. I bought a bunch of these and I have them in all my cases. It's also super important that you then leave your case closed. This only works if you have a quarantined environment, but then your case is always this beautifully 49% preserved humidity in there. So leave the guitar in its case when you're not using it and have the humipacks in there. Some companies also have humipacks that go in these little cloth bags that even drop in between the strings, so they drop in the sound hole. That's another good option. I might even have another one in the headstock compartment just to make sure that that case is totally quarantined. For a DIY solution, my luthier friends, the Bernays, showed me this little trick. They took a film canister, cut some holes in it, and on the inside there is a sponge. So you just have to wet the sponge and then put it in the film canister and then throw that in your case. Just make sure the sponge isn't dripping water everywhere. But in this one you have to refill the sponge sometimes once a day if it's very dry. Then some other companies like Planet Waves make this one, which I used for a long time. This is the same idea as the film canister, but this is made to drop down between your strings. So that goes right in there. And this is basically the same thing. You open it up, and on the inside there is a sponge. But I really had to fill this up so often. I love the Huma packs because you just throw it in there and you forget about it. I also found these very helpful. This is a digital hygrometer. A hygrometer measures the humidity in the air. It also tells me the temperature. And I have one of these in my office, and I also have a few of these in some of my cases. But a little warning, digital hygrometers are known to be pretty inaccurate, sometimes more than 10%. I went to a luthier who had a really good actual, I don't know if you call it an analog hygrometer, but one that was calibrated and worked. And I just measured it to this, and this was 10% low. And so now I know it's just it's usually 10% lower than the actual humidity. But it's in the ballpark, and it's better to know a general idea of where you are. So if this thing ever says, 20% or 15%, I know it's very dry, and it seems to be pretty accurate for that. Now here in my home office, my solution is to actually just have a humidifier going in my room so that when the instruments are out, they're also, at a nice humidity. And for that, I have this big guy, just a big tower, which I fill up with water, and then it mists out of the top. And within a few hours of this thing running, I can easily get the room to 50%. So like I said, I really do consider this a public service announcement. Please do yourself a favor and humidify your precious guitars. So thanks so much for watching. I really hope you found this tip useful. I have lots of other guitar tips you can check out here on YouTube. And if you want to see a lot of extra guitar tips, which are only available for my patrons, head over to my Patreon, where you can do a very minimal pledge per month and get access to a lot of behind the scenes content, extra digital downloads, and an insight into the classical guitar course that I'm working on. So stay tuned for more, and I'll see you guys next time.